thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. This is a wonderful experiment where I'm going to tell you about the Secret Storyworld. This is an exhibit that is now at ScienceWorks. It migrated there from Treehouse Books. This is where it started, actually in the book vault at Treehouse. And so the Secret Storyworld uses monthly 30-day story writing games to create empowering stories around our health, wealth, relationships, our creative expression, and more. From meeting here in the Treehouse Book Vault to meeting in the Secret Storyworld at ScienceWorks on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we are on a mission to write the world. So, and we need all of your help to do it. So.
Did you say write the world?
Write the world with a capital W. Yes, good to clarify that. So the beginnings of a Secret Story World. Oh, sorry. And I can pull my hair back a little bit more. Okay. Can anybody tell where I am? Can you tell what that is up there?
Who is that up on top? What is that?
That's me. So here's something you need to know about me. Yes, Peter Pan. My fantasy as a child was to live at Disneyland. So just confessing right now, the challenge was deciding which land I wanted to live in. Fantasyland Castle, a pirate ship, a Adventureland treehouse, even a haunted mansion. I thought sounded kind of cool. So I loved it all. And so I'm getting the rhythm here. So I created this world so that I could live in my own version of Disneyland. With the Secret Story World, we get to choose to inhabit a new realm of the imagination each month. From January's Time Travel Hotel, where we choose the future with the help of our past and future self, to learning spiritual magic practices at Wizard School in March, from fitness training at the Superhero Boot Camp, which we just did in July, to sailing with our muse to the marketplace. All of those things reside in this magical world. So each month we inhabit a new realm of our life to tell the best story we can imagine about it. Because I'm just going to tell you right now, I really believe that the stories that we tell, that we hold inside of us, they shape our lives. And when we communicate them and share them and tell them together, they shape our world. So we have to look at the life and the world we're living in because it's our stories that are creating it. So this is our path to create the stories that we really want to tell. Superpowered health, we all want that. Genie-inspired wealth, you know, treasure cave of wealth, fairy godmother, enchanted love. The secret story uses our imagination rather than willpower to change our stories, to create things in our lives. And so we can create health and wealth and love and happiness, not just for ourselves, but for everyone in our lives. And so, again, those shared stories is how we do this. So because I believe this, I really do think we can co-create that better world. And so, again, see those game pieces? These are part of the game. And these are all the realms that you visit. So this game uses the Storyspinner wheel and the 12 story moons of the year. So we actually have a calendar of 12 stories throughout the year. We start in January with time travel, and we start to think about what the future could look like. And we also look back at the past and kind of come to completion with it. So I've got 12 story dioramas. That's what you see here. They all now reside in ScienceWorks. Before, they were in the window at Treehouse. You might have seen them there, just one at a time. And so now they're all together. And again, we've got a place where we can start to do these. They live at ScienceWorks, and each of these stories the dioramas bring a new story quest. So, this is a story world starring you and you and you and you and you and you and me and Nikki and Ray. We all are the stars of this story, because this is a telling of the hero's journey. That's the classic storyline of growth and change, and it is not complete until the hero returns to the community and shares a little adjustment while we pull my hair back. There we go. So the hero's journey isn't complete until you return with the treasure, and the treasure is the treasure of our imaginations. Your imagination, my imagination, our shared imagination. Your imagination, your thoughts and feelings all exist in an invisible world. Story is the path that connects your imaginal, unseen essence. We all have it inside of us. Some people would call it your essence, your aura, your chi, all these energies that reside within you. Story is the bridge into your physical life. This is the true hero's journey. You already are on this journey. We are all on this journey. We just need to make it easier to return, bringing the treasure of imagination back into our world where it is so desperately needed. And that path is the practice of chronicling our adventure in imagination. And that's through some form of creating. I like to use writing. So the habit of reading, writing, and creating, especially writing. The Secret Storyworld nurtures the habit of writing to strengthen the connection between our imagination and our daily life. Daily story prompts chronicle your imagination emerging into your real life, just a little bit each day, your opportunities, your challenges, your supporting characters, told through a story spinner lens. You are the hero of the story. You are the time traveler choosing the future. That's in January. Your mind is the mystery detective solving problems. Your heart is the fairy tale lover generating more happiness and love that the world needs right now. The Secret Story World is a storytelling game to help us tell our best stories, to live our best lives, to create our best worlds. Okay, so let's enter the Secret Story World. Da, 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 da. Okay, we're going in through the book vault at Treehouse. So we begin our adventure with that ancient map that I promised. This is the one that underlies all stories. We all can read this map even if we can't quite explain it. This map helps us to navigate between two worlds, the invisible world of our stories and the visible world these stories create. This map shows the path to bring our inspired ideas into visible reality. Some call this map the hero's journey, as I said before. We call it the Storyspinner Journey because it weaves our stories together. So we are living through a time of extraordinary obstacle and opportunity at the same time. And as creative citizens of the world, we face environmental, economic, and social change at an unbelievable pace. I mean, just looking back over my years, just the changes that are happening now so rapidly and so constantly. Hi, welcome. Happy you're here. So we really do require powerful new stories and shared stories to navigate into that more beautiful world that we know is possible. These new stories reside inside each of us, ready to be shared. The ancient map. And by the way, the ancient map is, you can see it in the zodiac, in the night sky. You can see it in the chakra path of the human body. You can see it in almost all of our books and entertainment. They all share a similar story. And I will just, spoiler, it's the process of thought or idea into matter, into physical manifestation. This is the thing we've been writing about and telling stories about forever. And I just don't know that we really noticed. So So we just need a place to capture these stories. Thus, we have a secret book as part of our story world. And if you go to ScienceWorks, we have a giant story world book, which has the kids' stories inside of it. And the Storyspinner steps to write these stories, beginning at the crossroads with step 0. So there's 10 steps of the Storyspinner path. And again, spoiler alert, stop, look, see, believe, attract, act, ship, or give your gifts, treasure, or receive treasure, celebrate, and serve. So those are the steps. And over the 30 days, we just keep circling around to write these stories. So, yeah. Okay. So now we are on step 0. Stop. Step outside the spell of the ordinary world. Breathe. And just be. You stand at a crossroads. One path leads to the life you know. This is the path of the ordinary visible world. It is filled with people, places, things you love, the things you do, the actions you take. It might contain a dog or a cat, or fish.
Or a rabbit.
A rabbit, yes. This is life that you experience with your physical senses. It's relatively predictable until it's not, but for the most part, it's relatively predictable. The other path leads to your other life. This is a life of the secret invisible world. It contains the thoughts you think, the feelings you feel. It contains love and your invisible energies of vitality, creativity, and inspiration. It is all the invisible energies that enfold you every day. And we don't always pay attention to them, but they're there. You might say that you live 2 lives, one visible, one invisible. We pay a lot of attention to the visible world, the things that we can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear with these amazing 5 senses. And everybody's got a favorite sense, by the way. Some of us maybe have a couple favorites. And then we always have one that's not as, like my hearing is not so good. So I have to work on strengthening that. But our attention's focused quite firmly on where our eyes and our ears direct us. The visible world is just easier that way. The invisible world is a little more challenging to track. We can't see a thought or a feeling. Even love is invisible, though we know it when we feel it. The invisible world is where 95% of your energy, of you, resides. 95%, probably more. So what I see here looking out at you and what you see looking at me is just a small sliver of the reality of you. You've got so much energy, so much power, so much beauty, so much grace. 95% of it, nobody can see unless you share it. So just know that, because that's really important. So, here's the thing. All the things that you experience in the physical world, health, relationships, work, money, home, they arise from this invisible place, this invisible you, all of it. It starts as energy in the invisible world. This energy becomes a story, and the story architects your experiences in the visible world. Remember earlier I said I was an experience architect. This is kind of what got me interested in it, because I just thought, wow, we could be having a lot more fun together, because we can choose that. So we want to stop at the crossroads between worlds often and turn our intention into the invisible one. This is what mystics and meditators do. They enter into the invisible world, and sometimes they share what they discover with the visible world. This is where most of our religions came from. Somebody crossed into the invisible world and they said, I'm inspired, I have this idea, and I'm going to share it with you. And so this is how a tribe forms. This is how we make agreements. It's all fine and good. This is how a tribe becomes a community with shared values and visions. But what if that one story shared by that mystic about the secret invisible world is just a tiny sliver of what really resides inside. What if you and your family and your friends, and even your not friends, also carried a unique understanding of the secret invisible world? What if only through us all sharing our unique understanding that we begin to bring more of the invisible energy into the visible physical world, more of your invisible energy? What if your story is what the world needs now? I believe that it is. I absolutely stand here before you, absolutely believing it is your story that the world needs now. And my story, Nikki's story, Suzanne's story. They're needed. So this is the crossroads you stand at. You can continue on the path you have always walked. You may have noticed it sort of spirals back in on itself. You arrive at almost the same place on this path very often, the start of a new day, a new month, a new season. I think it's part of residing on a rotating seasonal planet. It is designed for the seasons to circle around again each year. But we're also hurling through time and space, so we're a little farther down the path each time. So it's a little bit like being on a hamster wheel, but as you share more of your unique story with the world and bring more of your limitless invisible potential into the visible world, you have the opportunity to change the way the world is spinning, to change your life and to change the world. Again, I just believe that. I've seen it, and I know the power that our stories have. They limit us, or they expand us. They connect us, or they divide us. I mean, right now we see that in our political scene. So many stories that divide us. We're so infatuated with some of these stories that we just think everybody that doesn't think like we do is our enemy, instead of thinking they just see the story world through a little bit of a different lens, and there's a place that we do meet and that we do connect. So this is how this works. Each month we enter into a realm of our life that exists in the secret invisible world, in the story world, to tell a story about it in 30 days. So again, January, time travel, creating the future. We tell a story about what we want to create for the year that will be. In February, we tell a kindness game. You know, we reach out with love and kindness to each other. So we do this by using the steps of the Storyspinner wheel, taking an inspired idea out of the invisible world and traveling with it into its physical manifestation in the visible world. That was hard for me to say. Every 30 days, we bring a new idea, a new story into our life and world. At the end of 12 of these journeys, because remember, there's 12 stories in the Secret Story World, one for each month of the year, we've changed quite a bit. Likely made a physical fitness change, realized a creative project, cultivated some new relationships, and deepened some of old ones, opened up to more abundance, realized a cozier, comfortable home, traveled, adventured through our life and world. All the potential that resides within you, inside of the invisible world, has found a way out into your life and the world. You've blossomed into full expression in 1 year, 12 30-day story games. It's possible. Because we're telling these stories no matter what. We just are. We're already telling them, but we can consciously begin to tell them. So this is the Storyspinner year for winter. Again, I keep talking about it because it's a really great game to get started with. January was the time travel hotel. It's a goal-setting game. You meet your future self and your past self at the hotel. The hotel is actually the Ashland Springs Hotel, and there's 3 floors on it. One of them is in the past, in the year that was. One's in the future for the year that will be, and then there's a present floor where you actually take the ideas that your future self has given to you and put them into play in your life. So we've got February is our Creature Keeper game. It's a kindness game. We have lunar power pets. For those of you who are familiar with the Lunar New Year, which usually happens in February, we all have an invisible spirit guide that is, we call them power pets. So, and then March, we go to Wizard School, which is the study of spirituality. It's learning how to focus your intentions and your attention to create magic, which is really, again, this path from invisible, inspired idea, some idea that you want to see made real. You're taking that path to make it real. And so that's magic. Spring, we've got the Mystery Museum, which is the mind and mindfulness. That usually is a game that you play where you might have a learning goal or a mindfulness goal. May is Fairy Tale Theater, which is positive psychology, which really is the pursuit of happiness. And something written into our Constitution. We have the right to the pursuit of happiness. And so June is our fairy godmother traveling tea party. Some of you may have ended up being in the park when we have our fairy godmother tea party. I think you've never been, Suzanne, after all these times.
It's
But there's
hot for me.
yes, it is very hot in June.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so that's our relationship game. In summer, we have the Superhero Boot Camp. That's our fitness game, which is kind of a fun way to think about the fact that you are a superhero. You're training with the superhero to become a superhero. And we all have these amazing 5 senses that are our coaches. And that's really who your superhero coaches are, those senses that we talked about. August is Campfire Forest, rest and recreation, getting outside, sleeping under the stars, gathering around the campfire, provided it's not too hot and smoky and dangerous. September is Mythic Muse Marketplace. Shipping a creative project to the market is our game in September. And then our autumn games, October is the Monster Ball. We all have them, those voices in our head that say, you're no good, this is no good, don't try, hide, run. Those are our monsters. They're just voices. And so we spend a month in October, the month of scary stories, and we tame our monsters. November is the Treasure Bazaar, money and material abundance. And December is known for the holiday, our home game and celebration. And if you've ever been downtown, go to Treehouse, you can get a gnome map. Year round now, the gnomes are out. And yeah. So this is the crossroads that I have been talking about. And so, oops, I clicked the wrong thing. So on our story spinner wheel, the action is to stop, to step outside the spell of the ordinary world, to breathe and be. And the more we can do that sort of mindful, just being aware of all this energy inside of us that wants to express in our life, because we're patterns within patterns. That's part of why the story spinner path, the hero's journey, is so present, is that we are patterns and we're residing inside patterns. So we just want to periodically stop and pause, just be, and ask these questions. Who are you and where are you? And that will help you decide where you want to go, which is our next step. Characters at the crossroads. Perfect examples of this. Harry Potter on Privet Drive was at a crossroads. He ended up at Wizard School. Dorothy was in Kansas, ended up in Oz. Luke Skywalker was on Tatooine. I've probably been saying that wrong, but ended up fighting the Death Star. Frodo was in the Shire and went out in pursuit of the One Ring. And Wendy was in the Darling's house and ended up in Neverland. So those are crossroads. And all our stories usually have them. That's what sets our thing in motion. I think I clicked too. No, I didn't. Okay. We're going to meet the wizard now. So this is my original wizard for my game. This is Derek Lee Whedon from West F. And now I have another wizard who is Nancy Ashmead. I actually have 9 wizarding instructors. Suzanne is one of them. And they all teach different subjects at our wizard school. What you see in the background there is the wizard school. That is Wizardopolis School of Wizardry. And I consider wizard school a spiritual practice. It's a spiritual education. And again, it's about learning how to focus your attention on an intention. So did I say that right? Focus your attention on an intention. It sounded weird when I said it out loud. So, and that's a quest. And so we really, for every game, this is an important step of figuring out where you want to go. So if story spinning crossroads step 0 is all about becoming aware of the call to adventure, quest step 1 is when we answer the call. We do this like those characters that I just mentioned at the crossroads. They all answered the call. We do this by determining there's something that we want, something different than what is provided by a current visible world routine. There's something in the invisible world that we want to make visible. Today, we would connect with our invisible inspired idea. The invisible world is filled with inspired ideas. So many ideas. All the ideas that have ever existed reside here, and new ideas are being born all the time. No one quite knows exactly what they are. They are more mysterious than your thoughts and more changeable than your feelings. These ideas exist as an electrified field somewhere in the vicinity of around your head. So they're in your auric field. They're surrounding you. And they're pure inspirational energy. They're light, really. And that's what we're doing. That's the secret here. We're bringing more light into the world. The earth is wishing for more light. So for more of our ideas to become manifest. So this field resides directly above your head. You're being zapped by ideas all the time. Sometimes little zaps, sometimes bigger zaps. And this is important. Not all idea zaps are for you to do something about. In fact, most of them are not. But it's important to stay present to the field and to enjoy these little and big bursts of energy. Sometimes you get an idea and you just think, oh, yeah. And then you think later, oh no, I don't want that. So you're being charged by the invisible world. You're gaining more energy, more light by engaging with this field of energies, of ideas. So, but you want to just be ready and online for your invisible idea. Here it comes. Zap. Literally, it's a zap. A zap. This is a much bigger zap, and it does something to your other invisible energies. It electrifies your mind, and your mind gets a mental image of this idea. Like an invisible electrified hot potato, the mind tosses it down to the heart. And the heart catches it and tosses it about a little bit until it cools down enough for the heart to decide how it feels about it. If the heart swells to embrace it, it tosses it down to the body. So we've gone through our mind. Our mind said, okay, I'm interested. You've got my attention. Our heart has said, okay, I could see this happening for us. And then the body, as always, is slower to respond. Likely it will toss it about in the vicinity of what is elegantly called the gut. And so if the gut gives it a thumbs up, we've got ourselves an inspired idea that it is up to us to do something about. Doing something about it means making it real, going on a journey with it. That's what this is. It's a journey to take something that you want out of the invisible world and make it real in the physical. So this is the path. We call it your quest in story spinning terminology. You have a mission for the next 30 days or however long your quest will be. Quests vary. Some take less time, some take more time. But for the purpose of story spinning, we pick a 30-day quest, something to make real. So your idea will light your path and provide meaning and purpose in the days and weeks ahead. Choose it wisely with team mind, heart, body. And accept the call to adventure. Get good at tuning into the invisible world and its field of idea zaps. And Wizard School can help you with that. So that's our March game. So the story spinner wheel, whoa, I forgot. I talked so long I forgot to advance my slide. So this is the quest. You're looking into the invisible world, you're listening, and you're asking, what do I want? Where do I want to go? It's ruled by the wizard. Your game piece is the telescope that can look into the future. Okay, this is story step 2, and this is where we go beyond just looking to really seeing. Looking means we're expansive, we're connecting to nature. We might be going on a wizard walk to connect with our inspired ideas. When we see, we're looking at more of the detail. So when those inspired zaps from the inspired idea of step 1 take root in our minds, it means we've accepted our quest to travel with this idea into physical reality to make it real. The first stop on our journey is the Mystery Museum. The Mystery Museum is our mind. This fantastical place defies description. It is a curiosity museum filled with everything you have ever mentally explored, be it math, science, books, anything you have learned about or want to learn about is on display here somewhere in the museum. The mind does not forget. It may be stuck in the basement of the unconscious, but it's there. But there's things that we keep up in the front so that we can look at them often. They're the things that we really are attached to. The museum staff is in charge of not just running this 3-floored museum of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. It also serves as a de facto command central of many of the automatic responses of the physical body, like breathing, heartbeat. It does this through a neural network that stretches beyond the brain. So you can't quite see it in there, but there's all these patterns that are in this museum, and that's what's happening inside of you. And so it definitely reaches up to the top of your head, to the tip of your toes, out through your fingers. We've already had the mind vet our idea. Today it gets more involved by helping you draft up a plan, a map to your destination. The Mystery Museum is very good at taking an idea and breaking it down into its various components and coming up with your trip itinerary for the days ahead. So add travel agent to the roles fulfilled in this very eccentric museum. Let's say my inspired idea is to write a Mystery Museum guidebook. I have this idea, I've vetted it with my heart, mind, body. Everyone is on board. I head out to make this stop at the Mystery Museum. So the important part to notice about this museum is that mystery is the first word. My mind is dedicated to mystery, to exploring and solving mysteries. We forget this. We start to think that we should know everything. But the mind actually wants to learn new things and discover new opportunities. So thank goodness, because I've got a new idea. So I don't exactly know how to go about it. So it's up to my mystery-solving Scooby Gang in my museum to mull over this idea today and come up with the map that will get me from where I am to where I want to go, the materialization of my idea. So one thing to notice about this museum is that there's 2 very different curators that had a hand in shaping the displays. We all have these curators. The left side of the museum is very organized and logical. Everything is meticulously placed, labeled, and categorized. It's very easy to find my way through this side of the museum. It looks like a scientist curated this side of the museum, or perhaps an executive director. The other side of the museum, the right side, is much more abstract. The displays are colorful and chaotic. There are themes running throughout the stories, but it is a little harder to know exactly what I'm looking at. It looks like this side of the museum is curated by an artist. Let's call it the artistic director. So here's the fun part of your time at the museum. You've got to get both sides to help you with your map. If you just go over to the executive director side, you will get a very logical map of goals. You'll do a great job. This kind of map only works if you know everything you need to know about your inspired idea. If there's something new, if there's nothing new, you're fine going to that left side of the brain. You can map it out, no problem. It's a little boring, but very functional. The trouble is that most inspired ideas, remember these are big ideas that are going to change things, have at least some unknown newness to them. So guess what? You've got to start on the other side of the museum. The artist side of the museum can imagine what does not yet exist and can begin to free associate and put images and feelings to this idea. It can access the other floors of the museum and even thoughts beyond the museum to come up with the essence of what it is you need to do. Now you take your map to the logical side of the museum. your executive director will take all the thoughts about your destination and start to organize them into a linear path. So my artist director will solve the mystery of what this guidebook will be, maybe visualize the chapters, hopefully come up with the more creative and fun vision for this guide. And now the executive director puts together a plan for the journey ahead. When to write, how much to write, how often to write, and when I might safely arrive at my destination. So I got my map with the help of these two directors. You've got these directors too, we all do. So, and let's be clear, a map is a guide to get you from point A, idea for a book, to point B, a published book, but there is a whole lot of action and adventure that's going to take place between point A and B. That is the mystery, and my mystery museum staff, all 3 floors, will be solving the mystery in the days ahead. For now, though, I'm happy with my map, and I'm heading on to my next destination. Click. I have to say it out loud. Oh, it didn't work. Here we go. Oh, I forgot to move this. Hey, this is the list of zaps. This was supposed to be when we were still over in the inspirational realm. I realized when I was looking at this, I had it out of order, but then I forgot to fix it. So here's some these are inspired ideas. I might take 30 days mastering invisible world tools like meditation to increase my spiritual energy. I might take 30 days to pursue a curiosity that involves study and learning something that I don't know. I might take a relationship zap of deepening a relationship, spending more time with family, joining a new group, trying a dating app. Superhero fitness zaps, committing to a regular fitness training routine, learning or improving at a sport, training for a race, upgrading my nutrition. There are creative zaps, money zaps, celebration and home zaps. So many zaps, so many ideas for us to do. But for right now, we're still at see the path. How can I imagine the path from where I am to where I want to go? Ruled by the sleuth, the game piece is the magnifying glass or monocle, and it helps you see up close. So now we're on step 3 of the Storyspinner wheel. It's time to enter into the territory between point A, your present location, and point B, where you want to go. You've got a pretty good idea of some of the landmarks along the way, but we are still very much in the invisible world, and it will be days before we hit visible reality. There's a lot of travel ahead for you, and this landscape is unknown. Very natural to feel some anxiety about the best thing to do right now. When in doubt, follow the energy. A caveat though, the energy will create an illuminated path for you, but there's going to be 2 paths. One of the paths, some of the energy is going to want to go right back to the safe known, to postpone the journey for another day or abandon it altogether. Don't follow that energy. Follow the other energy that is curious about the journey. To help you grow more comfortable, I highly recommend making a stop at the Fairy Tale Theater to pick up your compass and traveling costume. This invisible theater resides between the mind and the heart and is creative and adaptable at communicating to and for those 2 very different realms. So we've got our theater and we've got the many characters that we play here. So if the Mystery Museum has designed a plan for reaching your destination, the Fairy Tale Theater's job is to take this map and turn it into a story you can share, turn it into a character you can play, so that it's easier to become the character who gets what you want. Instead of trying to use your will and mind power to will this into being, instead you use your creative embodying energy of your personality to begin to start to have the feelings of the person who has this. And so you'll want your character compass. The compass will keep you from getting lost in the long stretches of the uncharted territories between point A and point B. A compass points to your true north, which is your character motivations. So you have an inner cast of characters who run the theaters. You have an inner wizard. You have an inner lover, you have a warrior, you have family you have community you, so many yous, money you, creative you, they're all in there. And so one of your characters who is playing a starring role in this kind of journey to make real a new inspired idea is future you. This is a you that has reached your destination and knows the path to take. Consulting with this character now rather than later is a shortcut to reach your destination. Future you knows there are certain actions and habits to take to forward you along your path. These actions and habits are much easier to take if you begin to shift your identity to become this future character now. You don't want to wait until you've arrived at your destination because you might not get there. So if your destination is to run in a race, you train for the race by becoming runner you. You begin to think, dress, speak, and act like a runner. If you are launching a business, you begin to think, dress, speak, and act like business you. Whatever your quest is, insert it here and become that you. Think, feel, speak, dress, and act like this you. It's a shift in identity that we're doing. You are shape-shifting into a new character, the character who has what you want. You already have it. You take on the mannerisms, motivations, and habits of this new character. It's a shortcut through the territory between point A and point B. It will speed you on your way. And the other thing that will speed you on your way is filling up your emotional fuel tank with positive feelings. So again, as you're positively imagining your future, as you're positively imagining this future you, you just want to really fill up your fuel tank with happy, good feelings. Now you're really ready to travel. So that's our character compass. Act as if you already have what you want. It sounds like it could be fake, sounds like it could be pretending, but in actuality, there is a version of you that you wouldn't have this idea if it wasn't somehow part of your energetic field. So this is just your shortcut to bring it out from the invisible into the visible. And this is the question to ask yourself is, how do I become the character who gets what I want? It's ruled by the shapeshifter, and the game piece is the mask. Okay, we're on step 4. Keep clicking my wrong button here. In the early days of thinking about all of this, I will just tell you, I had a very different path. I had a path that said, you stop, you get inspired by your idea, you contemplate it with your mind, you get your mind involved in coming up with a plan for it, you feel it in your heart, you get motivated to change, and you take physical action. Those paths I put together. So it's stop, look, see, express, act. And then came all the other realms, the journey into creativity, material abundance, relationships, home. But those first 4 realms were the really important ones, I thought. So when sharing these thoughts with others, one of my listeners said to me, I can't wait to get to the realm of love. When does that happen? And, he's like, when's that happening again? And I was like, I had it like way at the bottom of the list. It was like, you got through all this stuff and then you got in relationship. So, what's that?
I said you moved it up.
I totally moved it up because, so this is what happens when you share ideas with others. And that's part of what the story spinning adventure is about. It's about sharing your creative thoughts, your ideas, even your not creative ideas. It's about sharing what's inside of you, letting it out so that other people can share and learn and grow with you. So, so this is just so valuable. I had 2 light bulbs that went off in my head when this happened. So I realized that, of course, we need to get to the relationship realm sooner because it's expanded path of the heart right here in the center of our chest. And what I realized is when I did that, all of a sudden, I didn't realize this before, I had a chakra path. So bear with me for a tangent here. This is a metaphysical tangent. We are in the metaphysical library, so I think it's okay. So when I started to work on this, it just didn't occur to me. The chakras, of course, represent an energy system, a map, I said that earlier, that this is one of the maps. It's first described in the Vedic tradition in ancient India. It depicts 7 invisible energy centers in the physical body, and the tradition of yoga in part came from these teachings. The Jewish tradition has a similar tradition called the Sephira. I might be saying that not quite right, but they have 10 energy centers, and they run through the body kind of like a lightning bolt. And so that comes from the more esoteric branch of the Kabbalah in the Judaic tradition. So it gets even better. These energy systems, described by both religious traditions, loosely correlate to the physical body's endocrine or energy system. So that's our other religion, science. So we've got 3 branches of religious and scientific teaching that recognize that there are energy fields in the body. So the energy path looks like this. Crown of the head, the center of the forehead, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral, located in the abdomen, the root at the base of the spine. These all correlate to our secret Storyworld path of the inspired idea at the crown of the head, vetting it with our mind, speaking, expressing, believing that we can become the character who gets what we want, attracting in our allies. That's what we're going to talk about right now. Thank you for indulging my little tangent. But I was very excited at that. So this is my revised Storyspinner wheel. Step outside the spell, look into the invisible realms for your inspired idea, see the path from here to the materialization of your inspired idea, express as you has already materialized your idea, and then attract the allies who will be your traveling companions and helpers. Their journey is way easier if you go with others. It just is. And again, I didn't think that way. It took talking to somebody else to say, oh yeah. So step 4 is attract your allies. You're asking who can help. And I feel like I skipped a step there. Did I skip?
No, we haven't done the mirror.
I missed a slide. I'm missing a slide. I must have deleted a slide. So the fairy godmother slide should be up here, and somehow I must have accidentally deleted it.
We'll see it later.
It's interesting. It's on my thing, but it's not on that. It's very interesting somehow.
Go back one and see if it wasn't there.
You think it was? Oh, genius!
I'm a proofreader.
You are great. Oh, good to know. Okay. You're right. That's right. Actually, I'm getting confused. I was exactly where I need to be. Isn't that funny? I got confused. I thought I hadn't said all those things. So we're going to move forward onto a very important character. So now we've attracted in our allies. We can't do things by ourselves. We need each other. That's just the way this journey works. It just goes so much better to have helpers and friends and allies and just traveling companions. Going to go forward here. So to recap our Storyspinner journey so far, you've made a pact with your invisible inspired idea. You've set out on the journey to bring it into existence in the visible world. You've drafted up a map of the key landmarks to take you through the invisible realms of thought, feelings, and love out into the physical world. You've filled up with positive feelings and set your character compass. You've invited in your allies, a few traveling companions, to make this journey with you. You are lovingly asking for help from the people, places, and things that can assist you. Now the rubber hits the road. As we cross over from the invisible world of thoughts, emotions, and love into the physical world of the body. Now we take action to make our ideas a visible reality. This doesn't discount your idea's existence in the invisible world, but your idea, the one that is up to you to do something about, the doing means sharing. And in order to share, it has to become shareable. It has to become visible. So today we cross a different kind of threshold than our step 0 entry into the unknown, invisible world. We move into the denser realm of the 5 senses. What exists here, we can see, hear, taste, touch, smell. It begins with the physical body and ripples out into the physical world and encompasses your fellow inhabitants of this world. Minerals, plants, animals, other people. Your inspired idea wants to become something that can be seen, heard, touched, tasted, or smelled, or smelled. If it's a book, then I can hold that book in my hand, I can read it with my eyes. If it's a song, I can hear it, I can see it performed. A work of art, I can see, maybe even touch. A new product, I can definitely touch. There are products for every one of the senses. Lots of products out in the visible world. That new recipe you created and cooked up, I can see it, I can smell, touch, taste it, maybe even hear it if it involves some kind of sizzle. That's what we call reality. We tend to think of it as the only reality. It is not, but from the view of the 5 senses of the physical body, it is. It is the material rather than the immaterial, invisible world. As we cross over from the invisible to the visible into the realm of the physical body, everything begins to move at a much slower rate. There is a denseness to our body in the material world. This is why you can think and feel instantaneously, and it just takes longer for the physical body to catch up. And that's not the only thing going on here. Just like the physical borders between countries, there are guards at these borders. This is where the sticking point often happens when we're materializing an idea. We can think about it, we can feel it, but actually physically getting it to move and happen, it takes concentrated marshaling of our energy, and that's what the superhero training is all about. And there are dragons and other adversaries who will try and stop you from bringing this idea into visible reality. That's part of any story. There's always somebody that stands in the way, or something that's in the way. Your antagonist, your adversary, your supervillain, if you're in a superhero story. So to get past them, you get past them by taking physical action to move your inspired idea into physical reality. You've got to write the book on the page, compose and perform the music, create the art or product, cook the meal. A string of physical actions have to take place for your inspired, invisible idea to become real. This takes 2 things, physical motion and emotional courage. Our wondrous bodies are designed for the first. We like to move and take action. Once in motion, we are likely to stay in motion. The second is the sticking part. This is why we sometimes fall out of motion, because we're afraid. And so the idea is made real by courageous daily action. Taking action to get past the monsters and gatekeepers who are going to do their best to keep your invisible idea from fully entering into the visible world. Here's the thing to remember about your monster, that voice inside of you, or even somebody in your life that is naysaying what you're trying to do. They're tasked with keeping the story and the world the same. That's what they're trying to do. It's not that they really wish you ill, not very often. It truly is, it's they do not want you to change and grow. And a lot of times it's our own self that doesn't want us to change and grow, because what happens to our friendships and our life the way we know it. So just know that these antagonists, that's their job, is to try and keep the story from changing. So.
Is that what they call the fear of change?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So this is why we call in our superhero. By definition, a superhero fights supervillains. They are not afraid to confront these inner foes. So the more we go comfortable staying in our discomfort zone, the faster we become at moving through our fears, the faster we materialize our ideas. It's all just part of this creative process that, again, this is a map that exists in the night sky, in our own bodies, in all of our entertainment and stories. We're living it every day. And so we just need to start being really conscious of this. And this is what superheroes bring, a habit trail, which sounds a lot like a hamster again. what is it, the habit trail that the hamsters have, and that is just, the hamsters run on a wheel. They do the same thing every day. There are certain habits, actions that you can start taking that'll move you along. So again, if you're writing that book, write every day, even if it's just a sentence. If you're becoming a runner, do some kind of either running or stretching or something to get your energy moving in the direction of our goals. That is how we battle our dragons, not to kill them, but to take back our physical power from them. On step 5, we face these adversaries. Daily movement keeps us in motion so we can step past them and move ourselves and our idea onto the physical path of materialization. We claim the power of health, creativity, and wealth in the days ahead. So act, get moving, and meet your obstacles. And just something stands in the way. It always does. We'd have it already. That's the thing you have to remember. We would have it already if something wasn't in the way. It could be a thought, it could be a feeling, it could be a fear, it could be somebody in your life. Sometimes those things, but usually it's something inside of us. And oftentimes that person on the outside is mirroring that inner conflict that we have. Because we all resist change. It's unknown. We're patterns within patterns, and it takes a lot of energy to change. So that's why we have the superhero to help us. Okay, now we are moving. Now we are grooving. Now we are going. We have gotten past our dragons. We have set sail on the sea of creativity to bring our now visible inspired idea into the material port known as the treasure bazaar, into the marketplace. An idea might be like becoming runner you, and the marketplace could be at that race. It doesn't necessarily literally mean a marketplace, but sometimes it does. The journey is very much like a modern day Odysseus, who underwent an epic voyage to return home. Wonders and monsters, helpers and adversaries, all were met along the voyage. As you can imagine, the step is going to include both peaks and trough experiences. Peak experiences are those halcyon moments where your mind, heart, and senses unite in appreciation of something spectacular. In sailor speak, these are the moments where you're literally on the peak of the wave. Things are flowing and all is right with the world. The low point is called the trough. The trough is when the boat drops down from the lofty peaks into a perilous depth. Learning how to flow with these highs and lows is a sailor's life. For step 6, we will experience peak moments of movement and stuck moments when we sink down to face our monsters. In this instance, sea monsters. Think about Odysseus meeting with the one-eyed Cyclops, enchantresses, sirens, benevolent and malicious winds, gods and goddesses. Your journey will have similar moments if you are paying attention, and that's really it. We have so much help. We have so much guidance. In the Odyssey, Odysseus kept having like goddesses show up and point him along the path, and the benevolent winds showed up to point him along the path. It's there, the help is there, but we have to pay attention. So, this is all about your creative actions. Different than step 5, when we use the power of our physical courage to battle with obstacles and to get our energies into motion. Now we are in motion and creativity ensues. Even when we encounter obstacles, the flow of our creative force will carry us through. And though we may become battered and bruised in these exchanges, we lean into the momentum that is calling us to port. Seek those crests where you meet the kindly north wind and beneficial goddesses, and flow with those troughs where we encounter one-eyed monsters, treacherous enchanters will try and lure us off the path to the marketplace. The force that will carry you through is your muse. Action and movement may be ruled by the superhero, but it's the muse that really starts to change things, because hers is not just any action, it is inspired action. She can be counted on to inspire you with something innovative and new. Hers is an artist move. And you are on your way to the marketplace. You are shipping your inspired idea made real through your creative doings to share them with the world. Usually there is some form of exchange or treasure upon arrival, something that is represented by the muse's counterpoint, the genie, who rules the marketplace at the treasure bazaar. Your muse will guide you. And while we can guarantee she will lead you into some trouble, from those fiery encounters combined with flow, your best creative work will be forged. Click. So this is giving your gifts. You're shipping something to the market. This is your material idea being realized. What creative action can I take? What gift do I want to give? It's ruled by the muse. The game piece is the ring. And now we've only got 3 steps left. Step 7. Today you're going to find a coin. This coin is not an ordinary coin. It is infused with the magic of the materialization of your inspired idea. The coin is different in each realm unless you've chosen an adventure where your inspired idea isn't realized. It does happen sometimes. Sometimes your inspired idea needs more time to become real, in which case you will extend your journey. Could be extended for a long time. But if you plan well and follow all the clues and guidance and ask for help and take an action every day, you will claim your treasure in a timely manner. For our games, it's 30 days. 30 days, you receive your treasure of fitness in the fitness game, of creatively shipping one of your creative doings to the marketplace in our creating game, doing a spiritual practice. You receive the treasure, the materialization. So along this path, we started with being, we moved into doing. Being was those invisible worlds of just thinking and feeling about those things. And then we started to do, we started to take action, tracked it in our allies, and took action. Now we're moving into having. Having is ruled by the genie residing in the treasure bazaar. The genie oversees the materialization of your inspired ideas into material form. This ability to manifest ideas in the physical world can be seen as the culmination of all your adventuring. You've taken your idea, your inspired, invisible idea, and you've made it real in the physical. This is the path that we're on every day in our lives. This is how our lives are created. This is how our lives are formed. Your wish, your wizardly intention way back at the beginning on step 1 is now at your command. Genie manifestation. And so today we find our magic coin is a representation of the treasure that we are materializing in the visible world. Keep it as a lucky talisman. The coin is a fractal of the bigger treasure. Enhanced wisdom, creativity, resilience, ingenuity, all the intangible treasures you discovered along the journey are contained within this very solid coin. The treasure that this coin represents will serve as a reminder long after you've grown accustomed, maybe even spent all your material treasure. It ensures you can go on this journey again and again because your materialized idea is the real treasure. Often it is one you share with the world. The more in the habit of bringing your inspired creative ideas into visible reality, the more treasure you will experience in your life because you are the treasure and you have been all along. So your light, your beingness, your ideas, their manifestation is the treasure. That's the treasure in the treasure bazaar. So you meet yourself there. So treasuring, receiving, and this is always part of the hero's journey. When you look at the traditional hero's journey, it's always that you're seeking a treasure. You're off on an adventure, and you're going to find the treasure. Okay. With the treasure found on Storyspinner Day 7, we now arrive at a second crossroads. This one marks our return path home with our treasure. This crossroad asks us to stop and celebrate how far we've come. The campfire is waiting for us. It's time to settle in and tell our story. This is what celebration is about. The very best ones always include the story of our adventure. Remembering the discovery of our idea, drawing up our map, attracting in our allies, taking action to train our dragons, giving our gifts, receiving our treasure. This is the path we celebrate, and this is the cycle of our timekeeping trees. We made it through. We had successes and setbacks. We encountered allies and adversaries along the way, obstacles and opportunities, all the hallmarks of an epic quest. Step 8 is a party. Celebration is an important part of the Storyspinner journey. Otherwise, this would be about constant striving. Arriving is important. It needs a pause. So just like we pause in the beginning to step out of the visible world, we're pausing again because we're stepping back into the invisible world, and we want to acknowledge all that we've done. So celebration means different things. Most of our current celebrations are calendar-based, not experience-based. We celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and culturally designated days like Christmas and Passover and Ramadan. But celebration in relationship to our goals is important. Classic example, of course, is graduation day. The goal was to get through school. You did it. Let's party. So if you wrote a story, launched a business, finished an album, these are incredible landmarks and they need celebrating. It's about filling up, resting, relaxing, recharging. And we're looking at those 3 R's again: rest, renew, recharge, and recognize. Realize. This is what we are celebrating, the realization of our quest, the recognition that we have arrived. We just need that pause to know that we have arrived. Celebration opens our heart to the next level of collaboration with life and each other. Don't skip over this important step. It's easy to do. It's very culturally kind of the way we are in the United States especially. We kind of just hurry along, constantly striving, constantly achieving. Resting is part of the return home, which we're about to get to. And this is ruled by the timekeeper. We're home with our gnome. So the last step in our story spinner's wheel is to return home. The classic hero's journey, you return home with the treasure. The journey is not complete until you return home and share it. So we're back to ordinary reality. But because we've opened the door into the secret story world, the world doesn't quite return to its ordinariness. Yes, there's dishes that have to be washed and beds that need to be made and laundry and all those not so magical things, ordinary life stuff. We've got to do them. But the invisible is now visible to you. And this means we see things in our home that we couldn't before. Earth elementals, the little people. I call them gnomes. Folktales speak of these diminutive helpers of the home: elves, brownies, nisa, tomties. They have many names across many cultures. Care for them, and a happy home of good fortune is yours, according to these tales. Neglect them at your peril. Bread won't rise, the cow's milk will go sour. These stories are reinforcing the collaborative or contrarian nature of the spirit of place. There's a real spirit in our homes and our businesses and our towns, and we need to pay attention to them. When we return from our questing at Storyspinner Step 9, we're returning to the place we've always been, but we're seeing it with new eyes, trained now to see. And those seeing eyes can spot the gnome in residence. The ancients identified the spirit of place as protective deities. Care for them and they will care for you. We have fallen out of the practice of this kind of tending to our home, and our protective spirits have deserted us. But these guardians of home and hearth can be summoned again. The earth is alive and breathing with the spirit of place, and each place has its unique personality and character. And when you tailor your daily routines, the rules, customs, celebrations, color, ornaments, to evoke these spirits instead of suppressing them, your life thrives in new ways. Your environment. So why does this matter? And I'll just say that your environment can be your biggest ally to do whatever you want, especially a big thing. It can be your biggest ally, or it can become your biggest obstacle in achieving your quest. Use Storyspinner Step 9 to clean up and organize it so that it supports you with room for your inspired ideas. Abundant healthful foods, no processed cookies inside if your inspiration is for better health. A distraction-free work environment with enchanted touchstones if your inspiration is for creative flow. Rooms that support more wealth, love, happiness. Take a good look at your environment and make sure it is easing your path towards the materialization of your goal. Begin at the front door as your welcome home. Here is what to look for as you collaborate with Homecoming for your inspired ideas. You want a welcoming door. Energy, especially yours, needs to be able to easily enter and exit your home. Fix that sticking door, and while you're at it, make it inviting. Decorate your entrance. A fragrant flowering plant, a seasonal wreath, an interesting statue, color, sound, scent. Make every day a homecoming where your heart quickens a little upon entering the threshold. Just inside, you'll want to have welcoming furnishings, a small table to hold objects. You just want to make yourself feel at home when you come home. We're so used to seeing the things that are all around us that we sometimes don't notice when something is cluttered or hard to maneuver around. Smooth your path through life by beginning with smoothing your path home. You give yourself new eyes to see the earth's magic that surrounds you and supports you every day. So there's our gnomes. And they're there. They're just this small spirit. And yes, it's a fanciful tale, but it means something about this earth energy that is our biggest ally. We could not live without the earth and all that it provides. So, and that's the final step of the hero's journey. We've completed our story spinner wheel. We have arrived at home. We've completed the materialization of our quest. And we've changed the story to change the world. Ta-da! You guys are a great audience. So attentive.
Super cool.
That was
Magical.
delightful.
Yeah.
Delightful.
So what may not be clear in this is all of those steps are also the Story Spinner year. That's one of the things that I just said, I'm not going to try and explain that because it's so confusing. I get so confused with this whole spiraling path stuff. But Wizard School is that intention setting, and we have a whole month dedicated to it in our Story Spinner world. We have a whole month designated to mindful mystery solving at the Mystery Museum. We have a whole month dedicated to superheroes, and our After Dark parties follow the Story Spinner path. Secret. Now you know. So we just came through. Yes.
So you got this so that, and you were, you got it so that the 30-day game or the writing game is generally for kids, right, or adolescents,
I have
or
all
everybody, or
ages.
adults
Yeah,
and everything
yeah.
too.
I've had adults ask me to do a class for them.
Yeah.
And we're going to start doing some really interesting STEM, because it's at the museum, Science Museum, which is like the cuckoo thing. I was over at Treehouse, and now it's at Science Works, which is a science museum. We're going to start doing some circuitry, hands-on crafts to like make illuminated books. Really cool. Sciencey stuff along with, because it's reading, writing, and creating is what this is. It's reading the story genres, reading our own stories, sharing our own stories, writing just a little bit each day, to kind of create a new story about health.
Would we think about joining that in January? I mean, is that...
You are welcome to join at any time. I'm going to start doing, it's Campfire Forest Month.
Right.
That's why we're doing summer camp after dark for our after dark party. But you would be welcome to join at any time. I'm going to start having regularly gatherings at the Science Works Museum. We have a beautiful space. It's got all the Storyworld dioramas that you saw in the earlier slide in it. And we're going to have creative hands-on projects, some of them science-y based. I'm excited and scared by that, because I'm not a sciencey person, but I'm surrounded by scientists, so they're going to help me with that. And and then just regular
So when
journaling.
you say you could begin at any time, this actually sort of starts in a particular way, with that one, or zero, kind of bringing
Yeah.
down. So would you just turn around and make that your 0 month, or would it just seems like it would make sense
Thanks, Karen.
to move in the way that
Good to see you.
you moved with the year?
I love starting in January
Yeah.
because it just is, the part of me that is more, the left side of my brain really digs that. But you can start at any time. And some people, in the early days of putting this together, because I did want people to get inspired first and not just jump into fitness goals, because that's what everybody wanted to do. And then I realized, but you can do the same, it's the same path. So yes, you can start with a fitness goal. You can start with a fitness game. You can start with whatever game we're playing. So you don't have to wait till January,
I see.
but you
But
could.
You could.
And there's a part of me that does love that.
Yeah.
And what's fun about the January game, it's my favorite game, and I love them all, but that one's my favorite because it literally is looking back over your year, coming to complete. You close the doors of the time travel hotel to come to completion with all the areas of your life, and then you go open the doors into the future, and you just imagine what you want, and what you want to create, and who you want to be with, and all those things, and then you spend. And the Storyspinner's 10 steps. Here's the fun thing about this. 10 and 10 and 10 is 30. We've got beginning, middle, end. Preparing for the journey, taking the journey, coming to completion with the journey. That is the classic 3-act structure of story writing. So we spend 10 days with past self in the time travel hotel. We spend 10 days with future self. And then we spend 10 days with present self coming up with what we really want to do. Because future self sometimes can be mine can be, super unrealistic and just imagines all these things. And so then I have to have present me come in and say, okay, let's contain it a little bit.
So how do you get together? I mean,
We have this space now. Before, you saw the book.
Right,
When we were in the
Yeah.
books, we couldn't get more than 9 small children in there at one time. So
and
now,
how often when you get started?
so we're going to meet on Storyspinner Sunday because it's a good
That's
iteration that's easy to remember. And so we'll be meeting in the afternoons on Storyspinner Sunday, depending on how many Story Spinners I have, because I have some middle schoolers and I have some high schoolers, and then I do have a few adults. I might have 3 different groups going, 3 cohorts of people who are collaborating together.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got a couple of really fun side projects like the Moon Camp.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
say more.
The Moon Camp, which is for girls, for young girls dealing with their cycle. So again, yeah. So
Wow.
yeah.
Are you going to get this into a book?
I've written so much.
Well, you have.
I have written so
It's
much,
like
and
you've
yet
written the book.
somehow a book has not happened. So
Yeah, we could take just everything that
Everything that you just did, it's a book. It's just a matter of getting it into that form.
Yeah.
Which.
well, I can do it. Canva is the greatest tool that has ever been created, in my opinion. Has anybody used it here? I know Suzanne has,
Yeah.
Ray
What's
has.
it called?
It's called Canva.
Canva.
All of a sudden, we can become our own artists and
Oh.
publishers. And I'm not talking about the chat stuff
Yeah, right.
that you can, the AI, where you can create really cool art with that. You totally can. This is more like
Yeah,
becoming
did
your
you
own
do those
graph-
Canvas?
did those.
Oh
This is
my
Canva.
God, Cynthia,
wow.
that
This is
so
Canva.
incredible.
Good.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did it, well, some of the stuff was already done, but I did a lot of it today. I was a little stressed earlier today, realizing that, because we these parties that we throw that are part of this project are really big, and they take a lot of energy, and I will just tell you, I always have help,
Did it.
but it is mostly just me, and the buck stops with me. So
That
I
was
kept
Friday night.
I kept saying, and Nikki came to the party and said, you have to, you said it out loud, you said, you need to work on your talk, and I'm like, you're right, I do.
Wow,
So,
wow.
anyways, thank you for being such an attentive audience. I really appreciate that. You heard it as I heard it, because I literally, like I said, wrote it today and had it coming out of my mouth and saying, well, does it make sense? So,
Oh my God.
Excellent.
Yeah, just magical.
Yes.
I mean, ugh.
Krista.
No. Joy.
Oh,
Krista?
oh,
Joy.
I'm
That's right.
sorry.
And so there's one part that I didn't understand until the very end.
Oh,
I thought that you were having a step for each of the things. So when you were on step 4, and it was just a little bit before 8, and I thought that you had 30 steps.
Oh,
And I was like, we're gonna be
Here
here
for
so
the-
long. And my brain
Yeah.
just kind of went into
Yeah.
almost
Into
a
shock
sleep mode.
Yeah.
No, asleep.
oh, okay.
Because I was like
Too much.
You're not gonna make it.
Too much.
Right.
dividing my energy into almost 30 days.
Right.
And so so if you could have explained that in the beginning, that
Thank
would
you.
help
That is such
me.
good feedback. That is such good feedback.